Hi, I'm Mr. Poggio, and this is my simulated model for coding corona. My population focus is the United States with a total of 330 million people. Students, we studied wet markets, and I told you the virus was serious, and to prepare to not be in school, and possibly the rest of the school year, and for e-learning and to check your emails. That was the week of March 9th. Nancy, the mask you bought with your help from the Red Ribbon Week door decorating contest for Halloween was truly foreshadowing. I guess you could say the same thing for my CDC Halloween costume. But this is a serious matter that will define a generation and change humanity. Please understand that this simulated model is speculative in nature, supported by Mr. Poggio's research and background knowledge. This is not what I want, nor am I an expert. I just think now is more important than ever to science. So, I coded two red or two infected agents representing less than 1% of the population to start infected. Because I believe that even before 2020, coronavirus was likely present. January 19th, the New England Journal of Medical Science reported a 35-year-old resident from Washington returning from Wuhan and testing positive for the coronavirus. I also used 20 yellow or immune agents, as I believe the CCR5 mutation or Delta 32 discovered by Dr. O'Brien from European descendants of previous plagues, or maybe other similar genetic mutations, provide resistance to corona for 6% of the population, a natural human-embedded form of herd immunity. The majority 300 plus turtles or blue dots that you see represent healthy population. I'll start my simulation, and remember, dating back to January 1st, 2020, with transmission rates between 30 and 40%. Because at the time, we didn't know much about corona, and due to the CDC not advising the public to wear masks until mid-March, close to 100 days after the introduction of the coronavirus. Likely why, leading to the highest or peaks around the Easter date, 100 days after the introduction of the virus. After the 100 days, we'll see that the infection rate will begin to slow, recovery will begin to increase, because this is when social distancing and the incubation period and quarantine practices play a role and were implemented in the infection rate. This is why I lowered the transmission rate significantly. At Easter, in our video, I suggested that live virus and antibody testing was insufficient in our country and that our infection rate was much higher, even as high as 7%. On May 2nd, New York antibody test results reported 12% of their test groups had tested positive for antibodies. Antibodies that would provide immunity from coronavirus, assuming it doesn't mutate. So, is it okay for that population to unquarantine? Remember, when I put you through my digital scavenger hunt for my antibody test. Now, isn't that funny? That was the first time I was wishing a medical test would come back positive, but unfortunately, it did not. And soon enough, with other new medical practices, I also was hoping that we would find soon lower death rates. Even last week, CNN reported putting coronavirus ventilated patients on their stomach is increasing survival rates. This is one particular area. It's fair for me to say I have a little bit of knowledge about ventilators and antibodies. My dad is a GBS survivor that spent 10 months on a vent and 6 months completely paralyzed while his antibodies regrew. I'll never forget when the pulmonologist looked at my dad in the eye and said he needed to be hooked up to this machine forever. Never underestimate the human spirit, because my dad is walking today and does not need a ventilator. But we'll get more on that at the end of this presentation. Well, as we continue our model for the future and our transmission rates lowering because during this, what I'm calling the limbo period, for the beginning moment, we'll be practicing much better social distancing. However, getting closer past the 150-day mark, partly due to humans not following social distancing, but mostly because the virus has already infiltrated the human race, and it is, at this point, unable to be eradicated, similar to H1N1, but even more contagious. But even mostly due to poor management of the virus in its infancy. I mean, look at what happened in Taiwan. We could say that there will be higher transmission rates past the 150-day range as I continue my model. We also have to be aware that this virus can live in other species and clearly survives well in multiple environments and temperatures, which is a unique combination compared to viral pandemics of the past. I mean, is that even natural? Well, once humans realize that immunity means not having to quarantine, controlling the US population and opening up the economy will be more of a challenge. Even Governor Newsom experienced this firsthand by recently closing OC beaches and the presence of protesters at Huntington Beach just a couple days ago. The balance for human needs and compassion for those most vulnerable to the virus will become more of an issue. This will all lead to a larger second wave of transmission and death, which will be somewhere around the 200-day range and after. The race for this vaccine will become even more vital than ever. COVID parties will become a thing where people wanting to intentionally get the virus to then safely quarantine after so that they can emerge 3 to 4 weeks later with immunity. There may even be cultured blood with those with antibodies and matching blood types, which will create even a market for those antibodies to be sold. During these times, America will be under heavy stress, all while a presidential election is taking place. It will be weird times. Darwinism will take a whole new literal meaning. But these times too shall pass. And soon enough, a year after, there will be a vaccine that will be introduced into the market. And when that vaccine is introduced, the big wave, the second wave, will go to a much, much lower transmission rate. And those that are infected, that recover, and those that are healthy will be able to receive this vaccine. What is important during this limbo time frame and after the second wave is that those that are elderly and with underlying medical conditions stay quarantined until antibodies become available. The world will lose life, but the human spirit will be invigorated, awakened to our connection to one another, but mostly with nature and Mother Earth. 2020 will be known for the virus, for humans, but for Mother Earth, for the beginning of new life and the awakening. Science will be of more value. Poggio tribe, do you remember rewilding? Stories of endangered sea turtles laying eggs on empty beaches? This will be but a glimmer of the new life and awakening. Habitat loss, food sources, and our connectivity with Mother Earth will be reevaluated in our post-COVID-19 world. And that this virus that took human life gave life back to nature and gave humans a new mindset and a new spirit. We're all connected. So always be compassionate and always be prepared. But at the end of this, I hope that by the end of this COVID-19 pandemic, humans emerge from their home with a new understanding for their relationship with the natural world, Mother Earth, and each other. And as you heard me say before, Blackhawks, hashtag Team Humans. That is my simulated code model for the future of the current corona pandemic. Thank you.